All right, so that should be alive now.
Sorry?
It's working now.
Yeah, it's working now.
All right.
Hey, Carlton. Hey. Hey, can you add me and Kathy to the recording list, please?
Yeah, so I'm just going to give Jason a permission to record. Allow record. Jason, allow record. Where is Kathy? Also going to give Kathy permission to record. Kathy Victor. Allow record. All right. Ready to go.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, Carlson. Great. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I think we're ready to start the meditation session now. And so then for the first part of meditation, we'll focus on the breath, bringing the mind in the present moment. And for the second part of the meditation focused on the subject of ethics. So then to sit comfortably and also to generate a positive motivation for this first part of the practice, that if we're able to bring the mind in the present moment by focusing on the breath, then it allows for the mind to be best placed to be able to meditate on the second part of the meditation and also to prepare the mind for the remainder of the day, including the teachings and discussions, tutorial, and whatever else is associated with this, this program. So then just to sit in a posture that's conducive for focusing the mind, to keep the back straight, in order to keep the mind alert, but in such a way that one remains relaxed. And if you already have a method for focusing the mind using the breath, then to use that method. And if you don't have a method, then just to observe the flow of the breath as it passes in through the nostrils and passes out. And try as best as possible to be aware of the sensation of the air coming in and coming out. And using this as an anchor for focusing the mind. And as the different distractions arise, the thoughts, memories, and plans for the future, distracting sounds inside and outside, just to see these as passing events, a bit like bubbles rising to the surface of a pond. Allow them to rise to the surface of the pond and then dissolve back into the pond, and not to get caught up in the story. Our business here, as best as possible, is to bring the mind back into the present moment by focusing on the breath. So then just continuing like this for the first part of this session. And if the mind has already drifted away, remember once more continually to bring mind back to the breath. So then moving into the second part of the meditation, and this is a meditation on ethics. Yesterday, Geshe Sultram said that for our practice to be a Buddhist practice, it needs to be based on refuge in the three jewels. And one shouldn't take ultimate refuge in something other than the three jewels. And so in the image, one image that's given of the meaning of refuge in the three jewels is that the three jewels being Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, the Buddha being supreme physician, the Dharma, in a general way, the teachings of the Buddha, the medicine, and the Sangha, the nurse. And in this perspective, oneself is a patient, someone who is unwell. And clearly this is consistent with the first teaching of the Buddha, the truth of suffering, that a problem exists. A very serious problem exists. The problem of ignorance and the afflictions. So then, if Buddhist practice needs to be based on refuge in the three jewels, then our Buddhist practice of being involved in the Buddhist studies program, for it to be Buddhist practice, really needs to be based on that refuge, the recognition that we are unwell, that we're coming here to bring about healing. And if there isn't this perspective, then the teachings can become like just further information or like mental gymnastics. And so the real refuge really has to take place at a positive emotional level, where oneself entrusts oneself to the doctor and the treatment, the medicine, and the nurse. Because oneself wants to become well. And at the time of the formal ceremony, one takes refuge at that point of time. One may take the vows, the five vows, any of those five or none. They may decide to take the vow of not to kill, not to engage in sexual misconduct, not to steal, not to lie, not to take intoxicants. Generally speaking, there's a choice there to take any or all of those five vows. Pratamoksha vows, individual liberation vows. But even if you don't take them at that point of time, we have commitments at the time of refuge in relation to the three jewels. And in relation to the Dharma jewel, commitment there, very strong commitment, is this establishing the attitude that one will not harm others. One conditions one's mind with that attitude. Having taken refuge, the commitment in relation to the Dharma jewel is to not harm others, human and non-human. So it's quite an extraordinary thing for all of us who've come to that point of Buddhism, where we really do, as best as we can, take refuge in the three jewels, because we're establishing this set of values in the life, foundational understanding we are working towards. We are trying to abandon harm towards others. This is a personal value that we now have. So we're extremely fortunate to have connected with this system of Buddhism. And to establish this value of not harming others. And in that description of how, as a foundational understanding of not harming others, although you may not formally take any of those five Pratamoksha vows, most likely at the time of the ceremony, the Lama, when giving the ceremony, will give advice on abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions. This is a way to establish in the life that principle of non-harmfulness. So again, we're extremely fortunate we have this method available to us to shape our life in a meaningful way, beneficial to ourselves and to others. So, of course, most people will have already heard of these 10 non-virtues to be abandoned. But still, it can be worthwhile to just go on over them again, just from really the feeling state of what this means. That we're directing our body, speech, and mind away from harm. We're establishing this principle in this life that our body is not going to be used to harm others. Our speech is not going to be used to harm others. And we're going to try to work with our mind to subdue the mind, which causes problems for ourselves and for others. So within those 10 non-virtues to abandon, the first 3 associated with the body, to establish this understanding, firstly, not to kill, not to take the life of another being. And again, how wonderful it is that we've made connection with a tradition in which we've reflected on this intelligently and decided that we're not going to use this life in a way of killing, of showing total lack of respect to the lives of other beings. We live by a principle of valuing other beings' lives. Then we establish the attitude of how we conduct ourselves to abandon sexual misconduct, principally the action of adultery. But of course, there are other activities, sexual activities, which are harmful as well. Principle 1 talked about is to decide oneself, not because the Buddha said so, or anyone else said so, or God said so, but through recognizing how others are hurt when we, with deception, engage in sexual misconduct, cheating on our partner or cheating on someone else's partner. So again, in a society which is so strongly driven by pleasure, one's own pleasure is what's most important. Sexual pleasure is so important. Here we're establishing a view, no, we also have to consider the feelings of our partner and other beings in relation to our sexual conduct. And the third of the non-virtues to abandon in relation to the body, stealing, to establish in one's life the respect for other people's property. And again, within our society, strong energy of desirous attachment is encouraged, is supported to take whatever we possibly can for ourselves. But here we're establishing a view we respect other people and what they have. We understand it hurts other people when we take those things which are not freely offered. So living with respect towards others. And then the actions regarding the speech, four of the speech, to establish in oneself, firstly, that one does not deceive others through lying, to try to take advantage of others through our speech, misleading others for personal gain, living with deception. Our speech, establishing the view, we're using our speech in a way which brings benefit, not harm. So important these days, as it seems to be degeneration amongst many of the politicians in the highest of places. It gets to the point, not only do they lie, but they no longer sense that lying is something to be abandoned. They think it's okay. So we have a responsibility to re-establish in our society the importance of not misleading others. And then to abandon divisive speech, the second of these non-virtues of this speech, so that we use our speech not in a way to create division. We establish ourselves. Our speech shouldn't be used with an attitude of harm, of creating division amongst people that we don't like. Right? Division between people, or where division is existing, with a harmful mind, try to maintain, to support that division, creating split, disharmony. So here, even though people may cause us problems, and we can see how it can be short-term beneficial to create division, we are establishing, no, this is not right to create division. Our business is to create harmony, not division. And then also a third of these non-virtues of the speech, to abandon harsh speech, to abandon speech which is used to hurt others. Say, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That saying actually is really a reflection that words do hurt. And these days, in many of the places, in hospitals and other places, you see comments there about not using abusive language and harsh speech, so not being tolerated. So there's an obvious problem existing, that it's okay for me to use this speech because you did something to me, or you didn't give me what I wanted, so I have the right to abuse you. But as a person, as a spiritual practitioner, we should be cultivating a sense of self-respect. And it's an important part of this is to cultivate that sense of self-respect, to not be using our speech in hurtful ways to others. So we have the opportunity to set the right tone for our society, to set the example for others, to set the example for children, if you have children. Perhaps very much important at this time of the COVID-19, the sense of people being separated away at a time, away from what they're usually doing for all of us. And so then when things open up, we can maintain that strong set of personal values and influence the society in a positive way. And the fourth of these non-virtues of the speech, gossip, idle speech, frivolous speech. The most common of these 10 non-virtues, and generally speaking said to be the least heavy, but so much time is wasted. And with this gossip then it helps to cultivate more strongly the afflictions. And we lose power, our speech loses power, if we engage in gossip. And then there are three of the mind. Continuously working with our mind. The first of these is covetousness, endless desirous energy, coveting other people's possessions or qualities or partners or whatever. And again, our society encourages desirous attachment. Everyone has desirous attachment. And it can be in our society the view that that is fine. But Buddhist principle, and also from our own personal experience, hopefully, tells us that this coveting mind is something we need to reduce and to eliminate. That mind of coveting other people's possessions or qualities is an attitude of wanting to take from the other person, just so long as I have it. That you are deprived doesn't matter. So there's a big difference between this and aspiring towards developing other people's qualities, where we create the causes to attain those states. But coveting is wanting to take from them, almost like a parasite. And the second of those of the mind is ill will. And obviously, ill will, given this basic principle of non-harmfulness in Buddhism, ill will is totally inappropriate. And it can be worthwhile, look in our own life, how it has affected us when we've been carrying this mind of ill will, of a grudge, of resentment, waiting for the time to pay another person back. Or in the case of some people, you observe, and actually that is a personal characteristic. They carry with them an attitude of ill will to others. And the more that we're able to see that clearly, it becomes apparent that this is not the way, this is not the type of mind to cultivate. No matter what it is that the other person did to us. Almost like if they did the injustice to us, and we recognize the resentment in our own mind and how it poisons us, then we should be thankful towards them because they've shown us, allowed us to see this quality of mind and seen the importance to abandon it. So they're actually our friend, not our enemy. And the final one of these non-virtues, the third of these ones of the mind, wrong views. And that is to abandon. Most of us would have abandoned anyway, but still to be aware of abandoning the mind. In the extreme case of wrong view, then it is an antagonistic and closed-minded quality of mind, a cynical kind of mind, which rejects out of hand the idea of there being a consequence for our actions, the possibility of existence after this life, and that there are techniques available which really work to transform the mind. That's at its most gross level, wrong view. But along the way, then we need, as it said, actually this wrong view is potentially the heaviest of these 10. Because if we reject such things as karma and future lives and spiritual paths, then it's easier to engage in the other non-virtues. And also, with wrong view in the mind, it prevents the ripening of positive karma. So although we may not have extreme wrong view, we can have wrong view anyway, mistaken understandings, which block us from a deeper understanding of the Buddha Dharma. So we have to keep it. We need to, as Buddhists, then to keep the mind open, to be more humble, to recognize actually I have some level of understanding, but that understanding is limited at this point of time. So I need to be open to the teachings. So then, just in conclusion, then, if we can say the foundation Buddhist practice is ethical conduct. Now, the conduct is non-harmfulness. View is dependent arising. So then, in attending our session today, then that with the attitude, living with this conduct, we have this basic understanding of non-harmfulness. Of course, we try to develop mind of bodhicitta, but at the very least, is not to have harm. And then the attitude of dependent arising in that the understanding of these teachings is a dependent arising. It depends on our state of mind, our motivation, our effort, and so on. Our understanding is very much dependent upon these. So then, just to conclude, to dedicate whatever positive results from meditating in this session towards transforming our mind so that we can be of greatest benefit to ourselves and to others. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Tony.
Have a look. Can you see the numbers?
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you, Venerable.
Thank you. Oh, okay, there. Okay. So where do we switch?
No, maybe you just stay it as it is.
I'll leave it. Okay.
Gone.
What, you know, early on before you start, that interaction, was that happening before? You know, happening with something before?
Yes, because she had extremely conflict, but she was looking for someone.
At that time. Oh, so she's on a phone.
She was on the mobile.
Oh, forgetting that everyone could hear.
Yeah.
So they would all heard that.
Yeah.
That's a real risk with those technology. You can reveal all sorts of. But I've also heard as well, even not in that sense of visual as well. Yeah.
Meditation. Really like. We didn't.
Hello, Venerable Maggie, how are you? Sorry? All right, well, I want you. Good morning, Shane.
How are you?
Can't complain.
Happy Sunday.
Sorry?
Today's Sunday. Lisa.
Really? It's full moon. It's not our visa, not Tibetan visa.
No, not a Tibetan one, but
Chinese.
Bodhisattva in Singapore. It's very big in Southeast Asia.
Well, it's,
Really big. And then the Donzo is actually celebrating this like somewhere obviously in Adelaide. It must be with the Buddhist Society or something. There must be a celebration. I think they've been invited to attend.
it's like a Chinese one.
It's celebrating Buddhist enlightenment, birth and karma.
We just,
We do it in Sakadawa.
it's about a month different. House. I see. Yeah, oh, well, happy Visa. Happy Visa to
Any excuse to celebrate Buddha's anything, I think.
I think so too. Whenever there's an opportunity of tea and cake and celebrate,
That's an idea.
we'll have a wonderful Visa.
You do. Are you good for your walk?
I'm just going for a little while because I've got a Zoom appointment in 11.
Very high tech. Just all zooming now. Awesome. Just all zoom.
I don't like it. It's not good for my health.
Yeah.
But what to do?
Pretty sure. Can you just use them in your walking?
Well, I can, but it's a medical person.
Oh, telephone. Please attend all as well.
Sorry?
Please attend and have all as well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
It's been showering and spitting on that. It's very messy.
Oh, did you? Thank you.
Dominic Gorgil.
Oh,
Who's that?
that's the volunteer that we gave the bullet to kick him out. You know, yeah, over there.
Yeah, he says he's a depository. Can someone pass it to him?
Like, yeah, George, yeah. I've got him on the phone. He was in here, that was like it. Oh, definitely, yeah. Curly. He looks like.
He looks quite the same.
Maybe one. Could be. Right.
I'm wondering whether Colin knows the pigeonholes are up here. Some of that mail's been there a while.
Oh,
I
has it?
just give
Yes.
him a message, yeah.
Oh,
Or
I
do you
can
want
take
to
it
take
down.
it?
I can
Or
take
next
it down.
door?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll let him know it's there. There's enough.
Do you want
Yeah.
It's up to you.
Yeah.
Because the sun has been there a little while. So I'll run it next door.
Yeah.
Hello, how are you? What, Acha? Raj. Hello.